First of all, I mean, how are you feeling with everything? You're right now, in like a treehouse production area at a venue before a show.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. It's okay. We played all the songs off of the new album for the first time last night. We were just trying them out for the first time, and it was scary, but it went down. Thankfully, it went down well. I was half nervous. People would like boo or like throw their drinks at us, spit or something, vomit. I don't know. No, it went down really well, and so I'm feeling particularly excited now.
Was there a particular track you were maybe not nervous about playing, but one that went off without a hitch and you were like, oh yeah, that's
Yeah, I mean, it's really funny seeing which ones work well live because you never really know
Mhm.
till you play them and you have your ideas, but you can never quite tell. And there's one called On the Run that worked really well live, one called Lost in the Ocean that seemed to go down really well live. And people were kind of singing by the end of those, which is wonderful, like so heartwarming. And there are a couple that I thought would go down live, like very big bass heavy banger tracks that, yeah, they were fun. I think that it was, it was a good night.
amazing. Okay, so can we start at the beginning? Because I wanted to know as we're going to play the entire album, what was
Yeah.
your headspace like going into this one?
Oh, my headspace going into this is I think a lot of people were probably in a bit of a similar headspace at the time. This is going back to 2022, 21, late 21, 22. And, we just come out of that old pandemic thing.
Mhm.
So everyone was pretty weird. Everyone had spent a lot of time on the internet feeling a little bit like detached from reality and wondering if we were all going to die. And I had that. I definitely had this like bubble of an existential crisis just simmering in the corner in a pot. And then we went on tour and the album started doing its thing. It started going really surprisingly well. It was awesome. But we were on tour and we couldn't get tour insurance. So
Mm.
we basically had to continue our like personal bubble, our lockdown for another year and a half at that point. And all this stuff was happening. We were basically just walking off the tour bus onto stage and then back into the tour bus, not really able to feel that like togetherness and that like community that that is what music is about, is like togetherness and community and feeling, yeah, not alone when you're ill. The best songs make you feel less like lonely or happier when you're feeling down or heard or something. And we didn't have any of that. Just felt detached from reality and like nothing was real. That's where I was at.
It's a really strange thing to add onto that you had a massive hit that was kind of a slow burn hit for years and everything was blowing up while the world was in and out of lockdowns. You're in and out of your own personal lockdown. Like that, the idea of success at the end of the world or feeling that is also kind of a mind bending thing to wrap around.
Yeah, very strange, and not feeling like it's really you that's doing it, because we're just getting emails like, "Oh, this album's doing well. Here are some numbers." And that doesn't mean a whole lot to me. What means a lot to me is like seeing people and speaking to people and react and seeing the reaction, and that just didn't exist for us.
Was there a catalyst that got you back to writing for, in particular, I Love You So Effing Much?
Yeah, there was. I mean, it was quite circumstantial and quite bizarre. But after the tour and after the whole our lockdown was over, I just took every opportunity to do absolutely everything that was thrown at me to make up for lost time. You would, wouldn't you? Like the album did something we never expected and loads of doors opened. So I was just like, yes, 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 yes. I'm going to do everything all the time. And I basically didn't spend any time even thinking about the next album. And actually, weirdly, that made me feel a bit more like detached from reality, because I slowly realized that what makes me feel like me is just sitting alone in a room writing music. I'm quite an introverted person. Here I was taking every opportunity to do everything and be this like extrovert that I'm just not really, to be honest. To be honest,
It's
but
interesting
anyway,
because on stage, you're like a, larger than life.
I have a great time. But that's like being, the crowd feels like your family. That's it. That's why. It's a lot more. It's easier to do. The first song, a little nervous, and then calm, and you feel that like warmth coming back off everybody, and it's lovely. But yeah, what was the question? What
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 was the
was
catalyst?
the
I mean, I
catalyst?
heard there was a whole LA crazy rainstorm that really kind of got you into like a kind of an existential feeling, if you will, but I don't know if that's the
Oh
truth.
yeah. Oh no, that's exactly it. Basically, I had gone to America to do some more writing and do some more stuff with other people for other people, and got stuck in a house. I booked this Airbnb. It was a sweet deal, really cheap, and I was like, "Why is it so cheap?" Got there, realized why it's so cheap. It is like dangling off a cliff. There's huge stilts coming off it, and it's like it looked like if you like coughed too hard, it would fall over. And then this huge storm hit, massive storm, landslide warnings everywhere. I'm seeing trees falling down this mountain that I'm on the edge of, and I also got COVID, and I was like stuck. I couldn't leave this place. I was just so I really thought I was going to die. I was like, this is the end. What was the point? What is life? Why are we here? And that was the catalyst. That doom. I tried to like dig
Wild.
my way out of the doom hole.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, we have to get through the record, and I love talking to you. We got to get to some tracks and some context here, but I wanted to go track one, Show Pony. For you tell quite a tale with this one. It kind of feels like a statement or a concept, but I don't know. Is there anything behind this one as like the first track to set things up? Is there a concept that runs through everything?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this song in particular is about those we all experience love growing up in different ways. We see it before we even can say the word love, before we know what it is, can spell it, can write it. We're seeing it everywhere. We're seeing it in our family members, we're seeing it in our friends, we're seeing it with pets, even watching people at dinner, neighbors across the street, all this stuff. We're kind of forming this idea of what love is and what should be and shouldn't be, and making this like blueprint. And Show Pony is basically my blueprint, because I thought it sets a good context for the rest of the record. The rest of the record is essentially digging myself out of that doom hole by latching on to the importance of the human connections and the love that we have. So I thought I should set a context, and Show Pony is the context.
It's interesting because with what the hell is happening at first listen, I was like, okay, there's a concept of love and or maybe an arc of a relationship, and I thought what the hell is happening was kind of that euphoric part of love, and then all of a sudden I was like, wait a second, this is about being hijacked. What the hell is happening, Dave? What's going on?
Yeah, it takes a turn after Show Pony, and you get to what the hell is happening. And I think that was just kind of trying to reference like the previous couple of years where it really just felt like we'd been grabbed by the seat of our pants and dragged through everything, and we were kind of helpless. Like we were on this roller coaster that we couldn't choose which way to go. It just sort of all exploded, and we were just passengers on that trip. And then I sort of realized that later it actually makes quite a strong parallel to being trapped in that house where I wrote the record. You can't helpless, stuck, and you're at someone else's mercy. But there's a real beauty in that. And I think that song is me finding that like that beauty of being like spending some time alone just with your thoughts, and there are no consequences to anything that you think, and you have an excuse for anything that goes wrong. Like you're kidnapped and stuck in the boot of a car. It's not your fault.
I mean, we don't quite live in the moment very much anymore, and I feel like in that situation, whether it be you sick and isolated or in the back of a trunk, you're very much going to be in the moment.
Yeah, I was making an extreme parallel there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the abrupt ending though is pretty epic. And I was wondering, did you actually like what is that sample from? Did you go out and record?
Oh yeah. I just had to go shut a car boot, or trunk, as you might call it.
I just love the idea of you setting up something inside of a trunk and being like, slam, slam.
Yeah, it was like 500 takes. I just wanted it to be just right. Put like 9 microphones around it. No, it was actually it was a very bogus recording. I just like took a microphone, plugged it in my studio, walked out. There's like 2 double doors, walked out, and then slammed the door outside.
Easy peasy. Love it.
Easy.
I would love to jump to actually I read that you actually had me up late last night listening to the 48-track SoundCloud of the 1981 Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I
Oh
heard
my
that
God. Did you,
I
did
heard that
you
that was influential, and I was like, okay, I don't know this. I don't know if I was even alive, so I was listening. And there's a track called "The Babelfish," and there was a point where I was like, oh, I can see Dave's vocals just coming in at some point. Anyways, the influence was I could feel it. Can you tell us
can you hear
about?
me? Is it me? Oh,
Now I can.
are we back?
Oh, did we lose you?
Yeah, I think we lost each other for a second.
Shoot.
We're back now. Sorry. So you said Hitchhiker's Guide. You were up late listening to the 41
Oh,
tracks.
I did at one point there was one track where I was like, I can almost hear this as a Glass Animals tune with your I was waiting for your vocal to come over the Babelfish. And
Amazing bit of music behind that, isn't it?
so can we talk about that influence? Like what got you into that and how did that affect this record?
I think there's this parallel with that record sorry, it's not a record, it's a book actually that they made into the radio show. It's people traveling through the biggest thing in the universe, trying to find the biggest thing in the universe, trying to find what the meaning of life is. And so there's a definite, parallel with this record. And I just love how they did it with a lot of kind of humor. It's cheeky. It's also sad and tender at moments. Like it takes you on the full spectrum of emotions. And I love albums that do that.
So, and also, I guess, I think I may have listened to the wrong thing because you've got the BBC radio show. I was listening to like some sort of TV soundtrack. So,
That's
regardless.
probably it. They did a whole bunch of stuff. Don't you worry. It's a kind of British, I don't know, it's like an institution. Everyone's listened to TV shows, radio shows, read the book, all of it.
So I wanted to, I guess for me, when I was listening to it, I think the takeaway was storytelling through synths and sound. And on this record, I feel as though I heard more of that than sampling on this album.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. There's no samples on the whole record. You know your stuff. I basically just bought a lot of instruments that I thought sound like where they were meant to sound like the future, but they're from the 60s. So they were what people thought the future was going to sound like in the 60s and 70s. I bought a bunch of like key synthesizers and strange guitar pedals and phasers and flanges and amps and stuff that all have this slightly space retro futuristic sound to them. And a lot of those were used in those Hitchhiker's Guide soundtracks, and also in like the original Blade Runner soundtrack. And yeah, I could hear the soundscape of the record, and then built a studio just to make that noise.
I saw your video of the Maestro rhythm and sound guitar, and you're basically, I think it looks like you're playing an open E string and you're getting hi-hats from it, and my mind was blown.
Yeah,
How fun.
It's so good. It's just like it's a little box. It's really old, but it kind of does a more modern sound in a weird way, even though it's from the 60s. And it's perfect for that. You can just twist it to sound modern enough, while still it's wonky enough and weird enough to fit with those more retro instruments too.
So how does it take from the studio, or how do you take it from the studio with this collection of vintage gear to the stage? Is it all programming?
It's sampling everything like note by note. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Because that stuff, I'll be honest, doesn't work so well live. Like those things, if you kind of like sneeze near some of those synthesizers, they go out of tune or they just explode. And there'd be parts making the record where we'd be playing the synth part and it would just start smoking. Well, that has to be the take then, because it's not working anymore. So we don't want that to happen on tour, so we just sampled everything.
Is there a particular track that came together so quickly that you were like, this is like lightning in a bottle, we did it. I did it.
Yeah, there are a couple. I mean, it was quite the writing of the record was fast. I felt like the concept was that when you land on the right concept for a record, it all happens very quickly. That's how you know it's right. Like you kind of can't stop writing and adding to it and having new ideas around it. So the writing happened very quickly, and it was so hectic and wild. It was all done in 2 weeks, and ended up all the songs were like 25 minutes long. So they needed editing down. So basically, when I came out of that phase, I wanted to do it very structured. So me and the boys just went into the studio from 10 to 5 every day. That's it. And spent 2 days on each song. And that was it. Just like two more days on each song, getting the instruments, cutting them down, editing them down. And then there was about 2 months of like tweaking things and moving things around. But in fact, pretty quick overall.
I want to bring up track 7 because I got a preview of the record, and on my little listening card, if you will, I download, it was called Never Enough. But then I screen grabbed your picture of you opening your vinyl, and I was like, oh, and Wikipedia also said like How I Learned to Love the Bomb is the new title. Can you can you tell us about that track too? Because there's some swagger riffs on that one as well.
Oh, that's a fun one. That's a guitar one. And that was, all I had up there in that house was a guitar and like the key. You can turn the keys on your actual computer keyboard into like synth, well, to like play notes. And I was doing that too. But that was like one of the first ones I did. I just sat down, that guitar riff came out. But yeah, we had to change. There are a lot of working titles, and they always change, and it ends up being confusing for everybody. The band guys still call it Never Enough as well. It's not just you.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there was something that, can you give us a bit of context? I do like when there's a little bit of a name change, because I feel like there's a bigger connection that you're kind of going for that. There's that explosion in the lyrics. I think I found the bomb as well. So
yeah, I think it just felt like it moved beyond the original title. When I first started, when I wrote the first version of the song, I had 2 different ideas for the choruses, and Never Enough really fit that one of the choruses, and then I changed it. And well, when we edited the track down, we chose the other chorus about the bomb, and it actually is a title for it. Have you seen that film Dr. Strangelove? Yeah, it's a reference to that. It's a film called Dr. Strangelove, and it's a pretty hardcore reference to that, and a lot of references to like there's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Black Swan in there as well, and Ghost Rider, and all these kind of split personalities, that people who have a dark side and a lighter side.
Well, there's it's interesting because there's, what is it? Oh, Wonderful Nothing is a jam. And when you talk about dark side and light side, that one has such an eerie start, and then the synth is downright menacing. Can you give us?
I guess that
you
song
scrumptious as a lyric as well, which is very rare. So high fives.
Yeah, I think I called myself a effing delight as well in those lyrics. They're quite wild words, but that song is about hate, and it basically being a type of love and its relationship to love. Like you have to love something to, you have to hate something to love it, and love it to hate it sometimes. It's a very complex relationship. So the song is quite complex. It takes a lot of big left turns. But ultimately, in this context, I think that swaggery beat comes in when there's this realization that actually you quite enjoy hating this particular person. You hate them, but you love them so much as well.
When it comes to being personal in lyrics, I know when we talked in the past, like Agnes came up as kind of a one-off track. Then it was Heat Waves, that whole dealing with Joe and being very vulnerable. It seems as though this is a more personal record, but when I talk to you about lyrics, is it uncomfortable? Are you a little guarded?
It's okay. I'm getting better, and look, this is the most personal record yet, so I've got to get used to it, frankly.
I respect that, though. If you are uncomfortable, I don't want to cross any lines. Sometimes I'll have some questions, but
don't worry. I'll always raise a hand and be like, not that one, but this, I'm happy to have a crack.
Are you enjoying the process of being more personal in creation?
I am in. I think when I'm making it big time, yeah, and then because it's got this kind of immediate like therapeuticness to it, and then it's done, and you have a bit of a panic when you realize that other people are going to hear this thing. It's really frightening. And then usually, or always, you kind of come out the other side when you see the response, and I hope there's a positive response, and that is all. It makes that response even more powerful. You know, with songs like Agnes and Heat Waves that are so personal, I was really afraid to release those, to the point where I actually didn't really want to. Like Heat Waves, I didn't want to release as a Glass Animal song. I wanted to give that to someone else to write. And Agnes, I didn't even want to put on the album. And they've both become kind of the most meaningful songs for me in terms of how people have responded. Like the letters I get about them and the way they go down live. It's really magical. So it's, yeah, the more risk you take in that sense on an emotional level, the more reward you get at the end, but it's risky.
Mm-hmm. I've noticed that your lyrics pull from nostalgia, which isn't new, but there's something so beautiful about I'm trying to figure out, I've got all my little notes, pardon me, but like the visuals, there's like White Roses, for example, the visuals like formed from old Lego in the bedside drawer, you know, the Play-Doh stolen, the heartbreak healing. Even just White Roses in the red dirt, you know, like can you tell us about, it's also a jam, by the way, that's in my notes.
Oh,
White Roses,
thanks.
a jam. But
Oh,
can you talk about, can you give us some context about that, perhaps, or perhaps dipping into the nostalgia and the personal and kind of painting over it lyrically?
Yeah, I mean, with that one, I guess I was trying to paint, like, it's a bit of a sad song, but it's meant to be optimistic, and it's meant to try and comfort somebody. It's when you can't reciprocate the love that someone else is giving you for some reason. You just don't have it. You want to. You think they're the most amazing person in the world, but something isn't sitting right, and so you're kind of leaning into these moments and these images and these things that happened. Like you'll always have them. They're always there. They don't go away. It's not dead. There's always those memories, and they're beautiful, and they always will be.
I would love to jump to because I don't want this to end, and I want to get to all the tracks.
Oh, don't worry. I've got a little. We can go a little longer if we need to. It's fine.
Because that track is really tender, and also in my notes for Creatures in Heaven truly is tender moments, all caps. It was also kind of the first taste of what was to come for this record, and I was wondering about why Creatures in Heaven was kind of that introduction to I Love You So Effing Much.
I think I'm quite a bad judge of singles. Or maybe that's unfair to say. I always feel like I'm too close to everything to see the wood from the trees at the end of making an album, and so I let other people play the album to select group of people and see what they respond to and what they think. And the song that seemed to make people react was that one. So it felt right for that reason. It also felt like it wasn't too huge a jump from the last record, because there are songs on this record that, like, I think people, if we just come straight out with, I think people would have been like, what have you, why have you gone that way? But in the context of the album, it makes sense. So we eased in.
Mm-hmm. Was there any carryover from Dreamland? Any bits that you kind of brought out of the archive to rework for this record?
Musically, no. I mean, there's a song, I Can't Make You Fall in Love Again. I've had the hook for that song I kind of had that phrase in my head for a while, and I've never really been able to find a place for it and get it to work. Mm-hmm. Once in a while I'll sit down and try and find some chords that fit under it or something, but it just never really clicked until I just woke up one day and heard that guitar. I heard that underneath it, and I was like, oh, that's it. That's going to carry it the whole way through.
I was wondering who that song was for.
I mean, it's kind of about a lot of people. I do that sometimes. To kind of amalgamate a few you feel something and then you realize, oh, you felt that in a few places before, and you can amalgamate the situations into one. So it's about a lot of things, but it's about a few people, but it's about realizing you just can't fix something. Like you want someone to, it's almost the opposite of White Roses in a way. It's an interesting, White Roses is like trying to comfort someone and say it's going to be okay, because but I can't give you what you want, and I can't make you fall in love again is the opposite. It's like realizing that you can't change someone's mind no matter what you do. It's just how they feel. It's how it is. You do anything, it's not gonna change it.
It's interesting. I was wondering if you had companion tracks. And I went into this assuming there was a big concept, and I think there is, but I don't think it's as literal as I took it. But are there any companion tracks like that where you listened back and you're like, oh yes, like, I Love You So Effing Much is kind of the pairing with White Roses, and is there any more?
Yeah, those two do jump out as me as companion tracks, and then the rest, I feel like I tried to select a final set track list of songs that don't tread on each other's toes, and they all kind of fit together like a bit of a puzzle. Yeah, we did this version of the vinyl that has 10 sides, and this, like, the packaging all kind of folds together. These 10 like little trapezoids all fold together into one nice thing, and that's kind of how I see the songs. They kind of all hold each other up, and they're all companions for each other, and they're meant to show the full range and like complexity and all the different angles of love, and how it's like, I think it's easy to think you should be happy all the time, and love should be this amazing happy thing all the time. It should be wonderful and never giddy, and that's not actually, that'd be really boring. So this is, I guess it's, trying to embrace every side of love and humanity, and realizing that there's beauty in the sad things too, and that's okay.
I know we're running out of time. I got a little note. So I do want to, there's one track I've been so curious about since I heard the Shooby-Doo start of it, On the Run. There's kind of the art of surprise is what I have on this one. You brought me to this world of like a 1950s prom with balloons and teens wearing fluffy dresses. And then there was a total flip. You were on the run. Can you give us some context about this one?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, it's a bit cheeky. It's about basically realizing you're not doing, you really want to like fit in and do things right for somebody or some people in your life, and you just keep dropping the ball. Like, you can't seem to get anything right. We've all had one of those weeks where we just like, nothing is right, nothing you do is right. You just keep taking wrong turns, and this song very quickly comes to the conclusion in the first verse that the best thing to do is to fake your own death and just run away from all of it. And then the rest of the song is kind of discussing whether or not that's actually a good idea. Kind of goes through like the joy of it, and then like, oh my god, actually this is so stupid, and then you're joyful again, and then, oh, this is really stupid. Yeah, that's the song.
I like how the sonics and the lyrics are kind of juxtaposed in some ways, where I'm always trying to dive into one or the other, and then you're like, interesting.
Yeah, it's exact, that juxtaposition is really important in that song, but it's important throughout the whole record. I think the whole, like, that perspective and that juxtaposition is a really big part of the album. Hence the kind of, there's a sort of space theme, and space is so big and enormous and massive and huge, and like you can't understand how big it is. It makes you spin out if you do, but really, on the other end of that, there are these little things right in front of you, these human connections that you have right here on Earth, right there now, that are way bigger and more important and more complex than all of that space thing. So the juxtaposition was powerful to me.
Is that why in the end we wrap with, as opposed to lost in space, we're lost in the ocean? It's a bit more grounded on Earth.
Exactly, like a spaceship, you land down on Earth, and that's the kind of, that song is the kind of comfort blanket at the end. Like, it's just saying that it is absolute chaos, and there's going to be, you're not just going to be at the top of the mountain the whole time. Like it goes down and then up again and left and right and twists and it hurts and it cuts you and it scrapes you. But you always have these things here that will ground you and make you feel okay again. Just got to ride through the chaos.
Well, we hope that you have a wonderful show. Thank you so much again for taking the time and going through the record with us. I'm so excited to play it in its entirety.
It was so fun. I'm sorry if I sounded all pretentious points, but it was, you had amazing questions.
Oh, thank you. I was like, you don't sound pretentious at all. I hope I didn't sound like too much of a nerd.
No, I'm a nerd to nerd. We got this.
Awesome. Well, please, if you have the chance, we'd love to see you when you're here in Toronto. I know you have a huge tour and it will be busy. And I feel like we're getting interrupted by your label who are like, TikTok, it's been a bit much.
Oh, no, it was a pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you so much. And congrats again and enjoy the run of shows. And we'll see you in Toronto next month.
Awesome. See you then. I'm so excited.
Thank you.